everyone, welcome to the kitchen and happy Father's Day to all the guys out there. This is a great day. It's a lot of fun. It's something that I've always loved. It's a holiday that I've always enjoyed. I love Father's Day. I love being a dad. Such a fun time. And frankly, I love steak. Love to cook it. I love to eat it. So let's get started. Let's make some steaks. And let's go over a few things. As I promised, and I have promised people, to go over the ins and outs of steak and how to properly prep it and how to properly cook it. First things first, you really want to be particular about what you're buying. Make sure you buy the cut of meat that you really enjoy. The last steak you had out at a restaurant that you really thought was amazing and that cut was fantastic, whether it was a filet mignon or a New York strip or a ribeye, stick with those. Stick with the ones that you love. Buy yourself a nice cut of the one that you know that you're going to enjoy. After that, you can manipulate everything, but you want to start with the right cut. Next thing to remember is that steak is steak. That's not true. Steak is steak, meat is meat, it's all the same. It is not all the same. It doesn't have the same flavor, it doesn't have the same texture, and it doesn't cook the same. You definitely want to pay attention to what you're buying, and it's worth to spend a little bit extra money if it means getting a better cut. Prime steak, fantastic, right? I mean, come on. Wagyu, Kobe beef, there's great cuts of choice beef out there. Angus, so many different types of meat to look at, so many different places to buy it. So really pay attention, really take a look at what you're buying. When you go out to eat, pay attention to what sort of meat the restaurant you're eating in serves. It makes a difference. What did we get? Today we've got filet mignon. This is a beautiful, actually 7.5 to 8 ounce piece of filet mignon that I love, my wife loves. That's her favorite cut, and that is definitely what we are going to focus on today. And we're going to go over the ins and outs and proper ways to cook it. First of all, most importantly, bought the meat early this morning, made sure it was nice and fresh, brought it home, and when we're starting to get ready, I took it out of the fridge. Let it sit out, room temperature, for at least an hour. Let the temperature of the meat come up. You'll be shocked what that does to the flavor. Secondly, how does it look? What am I looking for? I'm looking to make sure that it's a great cut all the way around. I like the thickness and the size. 3/4 of an inch thick, maybe even an inch, is important. Makes a difference. Lastly, I'm looking at the marbling. You know, you can go to stores and buy prime meat. You can buy prime filet. I wouldn't. And here's why. What makes meat prime? Well, it has to do with the marbling, the inner musculature throughout the middle of the meat. The more marbling, the more of those white lines you see through there, the more the fact that it's prime, right? Well, when you buy a filet mignon, most people, a lot of people, us in this house, we eat filet mignon because, well, frankly, it's a lean, tender cut of meat. So if it's filled with marbling throughout the middle, it's great that it's a nice prime piece and you can render all that out, but it's not as lean of a cut. So I went and got myself a nice filet mignon. I didn't look at any of the prime cuts. I just looked at the regular choice cut of filet, which is gorgeous. I don't see a lot of marbling throughout the middle and not a lot of fat pieces on the side. There's nothing that needs to trim. It's just a beautiful, nice round cut. So I've let it sit out for a while so the temperature of the meat has come up. The next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make our seasoning. We're going to put all that together to get some nice flavors on there and form a good crust. For a job like this, on a day like today, you should always have an assistant. Hopefully you've got one at home. I know I do, got a few of them. One who particularly loves to cook. So we're going to have Jason come out here. Come on, buddy.
Hello, everyone.
Once again, he's back, and he wanted to help me put together the seasoning for the meat, huh?
Yes.
So let's get this done and do it correctly and go through with everybody everything that they're going to be using. First and foremost, I'll do this one because I don't want it to make you sneeze. Pepper. Ground black pepper, ground white pepper. Half a teaspoon of each. And no, pepper's not the same. Black pepper, white pepper, very different. They have different flavors. Excuse me. Yes, always wash your hands. Have you washed your hands yet?
Nope.
So yes, you should definitely do that before you start cooking. So while you wash your hands, I'm going to keep going over this.
Or else you get the steak, or else you get the germs on the steak.
That's right. So, as I was saying about pepper, black pepper, white pepper, very different flavors, and I like to have both. White pepper has a really great tangy, spicy finish to it, and it brings out a lot in the meat. Kosher salt. 1 teaspoon kosher salt. Believe it or not, that's all we need. You want to do the next one? Okay. And what?
This seasoning is not the same as chili powder.
Correct. What is it?
It's different, but
What
it
is
looks like the same color.
What is it?
It's called paprika.
Paprika. How much do you have in there?
1 tablespoon.
Well, no, kind of. Yeah, no. 1.5 teaspoons. 1.5 teaspoons of paprika. Great light, smoky flavor, beautiful color.
Next, ground mustard.
Ground mustard. Half a teaspoon.
Half a teaspoon.
Half a teaspoon ground mustard.
Garlic powder.
Garlic powder. How much? Half a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon garlic powder.
Onion powder, half a teaspoon.
Last one, onion powder, half a teaspoon. Could you hand me a spatula? We're going to take all these seasonings and mix them together. Thank you, sir.
Always use a spatula or
Okay.
anything like a spatula.
That's a lot of a spatula right there just to mix some seasoning. I've got it. Thank you. Now, this is important. So I've got all the seasonings and we've mixed them all together, right? Okay. When it comes time to season the meat, which I recommend doing early, let the meat sit out for at least an hour, get to nice room temperature, season the meat, and let it sit for a while. Then you go out and prep and do the rest of the work you've got to do to start making your steak. But let's go ahead and season it. Remember this, when you season, you're not going to over season. Don't worry about it, right?
Yes.
It's not going to happen unless you set out to over season. So who would do that? But you're not going to over season. This is not too much, okay? You want to help? I'm sorry, you'll be all right. I'm just taking sprinkles and going all over the place. I'm going to cover the top.
Always to flat it down a little bit.
Right? Turn it over. The exact same thing is done to the bottom. So we're done. No, we are not. There are still sides.
You think you're done with the seasoning,
But you're
you
not.
still have set.
Season the sides. Season the whole steak. Get it everywhere. This is going to form a fantastic crust. When we get outside,
We're gonna grill
this is going to lock in all of these seasons together,
We're gonna grill it on the grill.
and then it's going to preserve the meat and juice inside. No, you're okay. And ladies and gentlemen, I've got it everywhere.
Always to make it everywhere.
Everywhere. Done.
Like that.
Huh? Look at that. Fully seasoned piece of meat that we are now going to let sit for a few minutes while we finish doing our prepping. I'm going to show you. So what else I'm going to do while we're cooking today, I like having something on the steak, right? I like having some sort of topper, maybe some sauteed onions,
Maybe.
mushrooms,
Maybe some sauce.
maybe some sauces. I like stuff like that. So what I'm going to make today is some balsamic onions. And what's great about this is you put them on the stove, get them started, and forget about it. By the time your steak is done, the onions will be ready. There's really little to anything you need to do.
Always wash your hands after you put the seasoning on the steak.
Exactly. So here's what we're going to do. I took a red onion, chopped it up into
Thin pieces.
half moons, not into little pieces, not huge pieces, just nice half moons.
Just medium pieces, right?
Right, medium pieces. Balsamic vinegar.
Ooh.
What, 8 ounces?
Yep.
A little over a cup's worth.
Make sure to put it everywhere.
Everywhere. Sugar, 2 tablespoons. Here, go ahead. I'm just going to do this. I'll do it. And that's it. Sorry. Then we're going to bring it over here. Put it on the stove. Medium heat.
Always to make sure to put it at 6. That's the number.
Right, 6 is a good number. That's going to come up to a boil. As soon as it comes up to a boil, I'm going to lower it to maybe a 3 or a 4, a nice mid-low, and just let them cook. Let it cook down. I put the sugar in there on purpose. As balsamic vinegar begins to reduce and starts to form a syrup, it gets really, really bitter. And we want to counteract that bitter with a little bit of sweet, right? So we threw some sugar in there. We're just going to let those cook down, and that's what's going to sit on top of our steak as soon as it's done. Now, any questions? Questions? No?
No.
Beautiful. We're going to head outside and cook this piece of meat. This is extremely easy to do, folks, as far as prepping steak. A good steak takes care of itself. You don't need to do a lot to it. You don't need a lot of fancy seasonings and sauces. You just need a good piece of meat. And that's what I want you to take away from this. When you go to the store, really look at what you're buying. Look at what they're offering. Go all the way up and down, peruse. And then when you find what you want, look at the different cuts. No 2 cuts are the same. There's different sizes, different shapes to all of them. Look at them all. Trust me, the guy in the butcher section loves to pull all the meat out of the display. They do it for me every week. It's well worth it. I make you a promise, and you'll see as soon as we're done. Now let's get outside and do some grilling, huh?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, time to grill some food, and we are going to do this faster than it takes for the thunderstorm to come in. Very excited about it. Just like grilling any other time, and in every video we've done about grilling thus far, always start with a nice, hot, clean grill. Make sure it's over 500 degrees, which it is. Very, very simple. I'm just going to place the meat down and let her get started. So, steak is on. We're getting started. I've put it down. I'm not going to touch it for at least 2 minutes. What I'm going to do, 2 minutes sitting like this. Then I'm going to turn it quarter of a turn clockwise after 2 minutes and let it sit for another 2.5 minutes to create those diamonds. We're going for that look. We're going for that beautiful restaurant quality. Way to get that? We got to make it pretty. Anybody can take a piece of meat and throw it on the grill and just leave it for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes and then eat it. But let's make it look gorgeous, just like they do at the restaurant. The easiest way to do that is to let nature take its course. Let it do its thing. Even close it. Right now it's at 450 degrees. Keep it around 500. Give it a few minutes. Give it a turn. So let's see. I'm going to give her a turn. See that? Huh? See those lines? Now let's turn it and see if we can get the exact same lines going in the opposite direction. Now, a couple things. Since we have some time, and now we have a tent to protect us from all the drizzles. Of course it would drizzle. Why wouldn't it? It's Father's Day weekend, huh? Medium rare. 4.5 minutes aside, depending on how nice and thick your steak is. At least 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick is what you want. I've said that before. And it's important because of the timing. You don't want to cook this too fast. You want to give it some time to go. So you figure about 4.5 minutes per side for a nice medium rare. So if I do 4.5 minutes now, then turn it over and let it go for another 4, should be perfect. If it seems a little off, give it another 30 seconds to another minute at the most, and you're done. After that, add 90 seconds to get to the different temperatures. And keep in mind, as soon as you take it off and you bring it inside and you let it sit for a minute or two, every 2 minutes, it's going up a degree. So the steak will continue to cook for the first 10 minutes that you take it off the grill. It becomes a waiting game. So I kind of play around. I keep it open. Sometimes I close. I kind of go back and forth depending on how much time I have. I checked on the onions. They're doing really well. They've got a nice boil going. I turned it down and the vinegar hit me right in the face and of course made my eyes water, which tells me that all that vinegar tart is cooking out and we're going to start to get a nice sweet glaze at the end, which is really fantastic on a steak. I'm excited about it. I love these flavors. And there's so many different fun things you can plate steak with, right? Well, okay, the classic. Why is it classic? Because it's awesome. Steak and potatoes. Mashed potatoes and steak, to me, doesn't get much better than that. So that's certainly how we are going to be eating at some point. Some nice steak and mashed potatoes. Goes great with veggies, nice with rice. You could take grilled steak and make it with pasta if you really want to get creative. And it's good too. You see, there really isn't much else to do, but let it do its thing and keep an eye on the time. It's the most important. And try not to melt in the heat while wearing a chef coat outside. So after another 2.5 minutes, yes, look at those, choo, choo, choo. Look at those diamonds. That's exactly what you want. And the easiest way to get that is by leaving it alone. Now, flip her over. Oh, that is a thing of beauty. We're going to let that sit for 3 more minutes with the lid closed, and then we're going to call it a day. We have our, as we call it at work, our presentation side. Our diamonds are done. Our steak is gorgeous. Now we're going to let it cook from the bottom up and plate our food. It's so easy. I love it. All right, we did it. It's done. 4 minutes on the first side. Made our diamonds. Got our presentation side ready. 4.5 minutes on the second side and brought it in the house. Letting it sit on the plate for a moment or two. Let it rest. Let everything finish cooking naturally inside. It's keeping its own temperature all by itself. And I checked on our onions. Wanted to make sure they were done, and they came out fantastic. And I'm going to show you exactly what it all looks like. And if you want to do something like this, this is a great topper. It tastes so good. Everybody goes, oh, what is that smell? The smell is awesomeness. And let me show you what I mean. So when you come in or when you're looking, if you do your onions like this, you'll walk in and you'll see this black tar look start to build and it's bubbling up a lot and you think you're burning it. You're not. It's sugar burning itself off, and you're taking that vinegar that you poured in and making a syrup. That balsamic glaze. You ever go to the restaurant and have, I don't know, grilled asparagus with balsamic glaze, or steak with balsamic glaze, or potatoes with balsamic glaze? That's how you make the glaze. Balsamic vinegar, sugar, reduced down. That's it. I love that. So I got our onions out. They're all nice and cooked. Got our steak ready, and now we're going to plate. Picked a white plate and put some greens down. Didn't have any parsley. Can you believe I forgot parsley? How many times have I said that it's my most favorite? And it is fresh chopped parsley. And I don't have any. Slipping. Hey, you know what? We'll just redo the whole thing. I'll make another steak. We'll get the parsley on top. And then the video will be worth it. No. Put some nice greens down so it has something to sit on. I'm plating the steak right in the middle. Let the greens get exposed. And I'm going to put the onions on top. Now, this is purely aesthetic. This is purely for show, the way this is being done. To me, this screams less is more. It's simple, and it just has a beautiful finish. And I'm going to explain all of this and why it's important. More than one person asked me to make steak. You'd be surprised how many people want to see a good steak made and show us how to properly make a steak. It's very simple. I think the step that gets missed the most is what people forget is to focus on that aesthetic piece. Focus on the look a little bit. I paid very close attention in the first 2.5 minutes that meat was on the grill. I wanted to get those diamonds looking perfect. As soon as I got that and you flip the meat over, let it cook. Move it around so it doesn't burn, but let it cook. Nobody's going to see the bottom of it. But focus on the aesthetic. Focus on the look. We got that. We made it perfect. And then we picked our top. Some people don't want anything on top, and that's fine. You could put some au jus. Some people like butter. Some people like flavored butters. We can make those. I'd love to make them. Ask me to do it. Shoot me an email. I'll make you some butters. But this is a very classic steakhouse cuisine. Those balsamic onions, that sweet mixed with tart really brings out the flavors in the meat. By cooking it the way we did, letting it sit for 2.5 minutes on one side without touching it, we formed a nice crust on the bottom. And when you cut into it, you're going to hear it crackle. That's the crust we're breaking, sealing all those juices from the meat inside. Amazing, huh? Who needs a side dish? You've got this. Gentlemen, happy Father's Day. I hope you enjoyed this. Please cook this. Make it for your family. Have your family make it for you, however you want to do it. But you can do this at home. You can make it look just as gorgeous as it does in the restaurant. It is that simple. I cannot wait to try this. I can't wait for my wife to try this. Take a look at that. Huh? See how it sits? Everything is on top of each other. It's not going anywhere. That presentation screams, eat me, eat me. I can't wait. I hope you liked the video. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Shoot me an email, hospitalityinthejeans@gmail.com. Throw me a suggestion for next week. Let's talk about making some butters. That would be fun. Different toppers for the steak, different accompaniments that go with it. I hope you enjoy your day. We were under a tent in case there was rain. We got a little drizzle, but it's gone. Have a great Father's Day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye, guys.